Hey guys, this is Heath here, and I have my friend Jason, otherwise known as Jason with a Felony on Executive Espresso this morning. And this is your weekly 18-minute. We try to keep it 18 minutes. Sometimes we run over. We'll try not to run over today because right after this live stream video, we're going to hop over to a X platform spaces for a interactional Q&A with Jason, but we try to bring you information for business owners and entrepreneurs. And it dawned on me, of course, that I work with a lot of business leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and they can have addictions and often do. Their lives can be flushed down the toilet and often are through addiction. So Jason is here to help us out with that, and this is all from his bio. He has a huge account over on TikTok. I encourage you to check out. He is into what I've never heard of, but it's a cool thing, Felon Restoration. He prides himself as being a ex-con, showing that it's possible to have a life after incarceration. An ex-addict, he's a speaker, he is a son, he is pro-American, a trucker, and like me, he is a believer. And so, Jason, hey, welcome to Executive Espresso.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor. God bless you.
Well, tell us, how did you first get into sharing your story out? That's a pretty courageous thing.
That's a good question. It just happens, right? It's like so many things in life. You're going along, and then I started going to recovery. When I was done, I was done. I think I've told you this before. I walked down into the jail, was on COVID lockdown. I was on a PV, had facing second-degree battery charges. And I would come out, and these guys in the jail who I'd done all these drugs with would come to me, and they wanted me to plug them, right? And I would tell them, hey, man, I am done, okay? I was too old to do jail no more. I was 47 years old. And so when I got out, I started speaking in recovery. I did the 90 and 90, and I was 320 pounds. And then naturally, I just started making videos of what was going on in my life, and it took fire. I'm kind of known for telling it how it is. And so, and what's funny about the videos, as a fellow believer, you can watch the transition and work of God in my life with my language. I'm a cussing Christian. I'm gonna tell you, I've kind of toned it down because of my walk with God and His purpose in my life, and it's just been a warm reception with the American people, and doing what we do.
Well, that's interesting. You should say that. But the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, actually came from Paul. Because I don't know if a lot of people know that, but when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's exactly what Paul, the apostle, did, because he spoke to them in their language. And I would guess if there's a lot of people I will never be able to reach just because the way I look, and just because the way I speak, and I don't speak the language that you speak, but you speak the language of people that need your help. Have you found that people really kind of key into you, and that it's, I don't know, I hate to say you kind of look like, walk like, talk like them, but
right. No, that's fair. No, I agree with that. And there's been some people complain about the change of language because, I have really, I go back and forth. I kind of got with God about it. But you're right. I reach the lower dregs of the hopeless, right? You got people like this, and there's this small percentage of people, or maybe a larger percentage, that you think will never get it. And those are the people that I specialize in. And we have been blessed with this thousands and thousands of people that have thought, man, I never thought I would get clean. I started watching these videos, and here I am. And it's just been an honor. And then we went to working with veterans, and then, I do everything out of my heart. I don't have a team. I speak, I meet, I engage, I get my personal phone number out. It has been, I think one day it'll go somewhere, but right now I'm just putting in the work, trying to save and win lives for Christ and get their ass off dope. I think it's a large problem, and it is, and it's our children's problem. Even better, as we like to think about us. Well, I'm 40, I'm fixing to be 50, and I've had a great life, and it's time for me to start thinking about what's I'm laying in future not only for my children, but for your children and your grandchildren. And there's a lot of socio-topical things that we could go on for 16 more weeks talking about. But the problem that lies in America is the evil that has come in the form of a package of a Ziploc bag. And destroying record, it's wrecking homes and lives. And we want to treat it as one issue, and we want to treat it as another issue. But if we could just stop the supply, right, that would be a major win for American people.
Yeah,
And
yeah. What do you think? Could you pick out maybe one tipping point in your life? And I know there's many, but maybe one big thing that was the proverbial straw that led you into a life of addiction.
the idea that I could manufacture a substance, and I manufactured mass amounts. I'm not bragging, but in coined a few new ways of doing it. Went across the Midwest and all this stuff. But when I learned how to manufacture not just speed but other drugs, okay, that gave me a power trip. And then I could ingest these drugs, right? And then could become this sexual robot. Now looking at it, back then I thought I was a god, and I could have sex for 6 or 7 hours, right? And it would just go on, and this would just go. This was the ongoing theme of my life: to get high and then have sex, get high and have sex, and get high and have sex. And that was you're dumping dopamine out the cranium, right? You know what I mean? Just, and so it was a strong bond for me. At that time, I had $1 million restaurant, okay, running $1.2 million. I was a 309 state inmate at Dallas County. And my mom would bring me my books from the restaurant I started. I'd do them on a weekend, and they would come get them. And we went from 850,000 in the first year I was out to 1.1 million.
Wow.
And then there shortly after, but longer than a year, less than 2 years, I started cooking dope. And then eventually they had to stay. A guy offered them $1.1 million for the restaurant. We agreed to sell because I would not act right. I was just, I was a liability. I was the weak point in the organization. And so I was more focused on those two aspects of my life at that time, and then making money and providing for my family.
Wow. Now, on that point, being a successful business owner, I find that sometimes the most deadly form of addiction, well, probably the most deadly form of addiction, is addiction that is hidden. And I find that business owners, are maybe functional to a certain level in their business, but they're hiding an addiction.
Yes.
They're hiding an addiction. Have you found that in the folks that you work with, that they're trying to be very effective? And then here's the amazing thing is I heard somebody tell me the other day about addiction, especially about meth, is that there's the illusion that you're getting a lot done, but you're actually getting nothing done. You think you're conquering the world, but you're conquering nothing.
You're not getting jack shit done, and I don't. It doesn't start that way. It starts like with that apple, right? It looks good, and so I found it. I was so wide open, Doc. In my life, I've never really had a filter. I never really cared about. I've always lived this life where, true freedom was being who I was, no matter what the set of circumstances or whatever was around me. So I didn't really hide a lot of things. Everybody knew I was high, right? But with other people, they would interact and try to hide this thing that was, part of their life, that was just controlling their life, and I would argue against it, just let it go. But they were actually smarter than me. They were trying to manage both worlds, right? I was just had my world in the path of destruction. But people get hung up in the business world with the alluring effect that there's a balanced lifestyle in business, okay? And there's not a balanced lifestyle. Anybody that, we know that the numbers are 7% of the population, almost 8, are going to be entrepreneurs. And of that 7 or 8%, 1% of that 7% will make over $1 million a year. So it is some crushing numbers, but you can't let that scare you, because if you got what it takes, you can be part of those numbers. But what it takes is 24/7, and you're going to sacrifice some things. And so the idea that, hey, I can take a substance and sleep 4 hours a day, or maybe not sleep at all, then cut in family time and work and in those added hours, is really alluring if you don't have a sex hang up, right? If you're just trying to be productive. And so you get caught up in that. And then once you're on the juice, to get back to normal is a week at least, right? Even on a short binge, if you just say, well, I'm going to use for a couple of weeks, and get through this trial time. Hey, I get that. That's what it was geared for, with the war and all this, and we'll put you on this, make you superhuman for a couple of weeks, right?
I was going to say, I tell people that meth is the Hitler drug.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they called it. A lot of people think that the Nazi method was some type of red phosphorus deal. No, it was a birch and ammonia and lithium as a catalyst. But you still if you gain that time, you still owe that time back, and we forget that in a recovery phase, that we spent X amount of years as this person, and now we owe that time back. It's seed and harvest in our faith. In other faith, it's called karma, or the law of consequence, right?
Yeah. And so tell me, just to kind of skip ahead, because we have about 6 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. What was the linchpin? What was the big thing that I don't know, a thought, an event, a circumstance where you thought, this has got to change? Was that jail? Was that prison?
It was. I have 9 felonies, and they're all nonviolent. And this was my first violent charge. We had come into a kilo, right? It was a lot of dope, and it caused a lot of things to go chaotic, a lot of paranoia, and there was an accident. It was a bad accident. We both got into it, and I was sitting here with this violent charge, and I thought, with all this, and the Garland County people have really blessed me. I was thinking about this yesterday. I should be in prison for my life, okay? And they really, really must have seen some hope in me that I didn't, because and it's paying off now. But when I walked in that jail, and then when I walked out at 320 pounds, and I had lost everything, I didn't work out no more. My mama didn't come see me. She didn't buy my commissary. I had to pay for it. My daughter did not want to see me. All these things happened, and they really pressed the button that said tough love, right? When I was alone, and I had to come to the reality that this is my life, and you're the only one that can fix it.
You finally had to lose. You finally had to lose enough to win.
That book, Codependent No More, is the standard.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
it is. I filled a lot of calls about family members. What I do. Listen, my mom and daddy, great people, but they damn near love me to death.
Oh, wow.
And try and hope. And it really, that day when she told me, she said, I ain't gonna come see you no more. That was, and I love my mama to death. I'm a big heir. And also I had drove by the farm. I lived about quarter mile down the road. And I drove by the farm, and I seen the for sale signs on the farm.
Oh, wow.
And I was the heir. And I thought, Jason, you've done pushed it too far now. And I went to jail, and I come home, and I told her, I said, you do whatever you want to do. I'll support you, but I want to help you if that's what you want to do. And I just went to helping her and taking care of her. And then about a year later, they pulled them signs off the farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Codependent no more. Well, what's one thing of your secret to continuing to stay clean? What's one thing that keeps you clean, dry, sober?
I know what I lost. I'm talking about millions of dollars. Okay. Health, just, I've been blessed with a good woman, that had no toxic stuff. Great. I'm a mentorship with the bishop of the Pentecostal church. I'm just, and once you have, It's like a lot of people that get lung cancer and they get it from smoking, right? You don't ever see them smoke again.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, there's a few of them.
Yeah.
They're going to die out. But 99.9% of the people that survive lung cancer from a cigarette, they never smoke again.
You got to have a why to do it. You got to have a good reason to do it, a good motivation. Well, just really quickly before we take off, we're going to do a space after this. You guys can just click the link. Of course, X Spaces is an audio only experience, and if you want to go to Jason's profile, he has the link. My profile on X, therapy_bites, has the link. If you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, just click the link. We'll be live here in about 8 minutes there as I get things set up. But just on the way out, just some real quick responses here. What is your own current top mental struggle? Your top mental struggle?
Food.
Hey, mine too. What's your best current mindset hack?
It didn't happen to me. It happened for me.
Oh, I love that. And what did you find that you personally, before you got into recovery, most misunderstood, most got wrong about how recovery works?
It's an individual thing. You know, there's not one topic. It's kind of like, I'm sure in your business, there's not one treatment.
Not one path.
Yeah, it is. You got to make the walk yourself. I think the most thing that when you said it, it came to me, it really doesn't apply to recovery, but it applies from the man who I used to be and where I'm trying to go. And that is one word: intimacy. Intimacy is an amazing thing. You got to have intimacy, and I never really had that. It was always like a porn movie. And that was what I wanted, and I'm not the master of it, but in recovery, you start taking on the tools of what normal people enjoy, and intimacy's been a good one. It's been really
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And Jason, thank you for being so courageous to share with us. We're going to pick up on the X Space Live Spaces experience, which is an interactive Q&A with Jason. You can ask him anything. As you can tell, he's not shy about dishing out answers. And so we'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thank you for joining us for Executive Espresso.
God bless you.